This person was taught in college that Augustine invented the doctrines of grace and corrupted the church. Did the church fathers before him teach the doctrines of grace?
Paul did.
Every generation wrestles with peculiar biblically mandated truths because of peculiar denials. But to argue, for example, that justification was invented by Luther or Calvin in the 16th century overlooks, for example, a lovely little book by Tom Oden called The Justification Reader. Tom Oden is a patristic scholar who simply goes through all the fathers and pulls out all the references to justification in the patristic fathers. And you discover that some of them are pretty screwball. Some of them are pretty good. So what else is new? Isn't that the way the church has always been? I mean, in every generation you find screwball references to almost everything, whether Christology or justification or the atonement, and wonderful references to it. And you can find those sorts of things in the fathers as well. I love reading through the sermons of John Chrysostom, for example. And this bifurcation, that the whole notion of the doctrines of grace, so-called, were invented by St. Augustine, is just about as ignorant historically, I think, as saying that Paul invented Christianity and had a big breach between himself and Jesus. A lot of people still argue that too, but it really won't wash.
And you find wonderful reflections on grace in Athanasius and other fathers. But that's right, the early church faced a variety of different problems, and in facing those problems, some of the very earliest fathers do come off sounding moralistic at times, but we don't believe they were inspired either. But when Augustine articulated his point of view, while there was strong resistance in some sections of the church, there was also very strong resonance in much of the church. So obviously he's not inventing something new, or everyone would have said, that all sounds brand new.
When the best theologians and preachers hold out the Word of God to people, God's people do not respond by saying, oh yes, nobody ever thought of that one before. What they say is, oh yes, why didn't I see that before? And that's what largely happened amongst the faithful as they responded to St. Augustine.